It's our SEC Week 13 reaction show. We head into rivalry week. Who's going to Atlanta? Who's still alive for the playoff? And where is Lane Kiffin going? We're reacting to it all right here on our SEC Squad show.
You're talking ball with the SEC Squad. From Alabama to Tennessee, from Georgia to Oklahoma, from Auburn to Texas, it's the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network bringing you scoops, breakdowns, and the most comprehensive preview of the upcoming SEC weekend. It's the SEC Squad, and we have a seat for you. Hurt feelings and thin skin are prohibited. Squad up, you're part of the SEC Squad.
And it is our SEC Week 13 reaction show here on the Squad edition. And let's welcome in our crew today. We've got Jay Smith from Locked On Sooners. We've got Stephen Willis, Locked On Ole Miss. I'm Chris Gordy, Locked On SEC. We'll see if any other folks jump in with us along the way. But certainly we'll also work in some reaction videos. We'll hear from John Miller, Locked On Mizzou. We'll hear from the other half of Locked On Sooners with John Williams and Corey Burton, Locked On Vandy, as Vanderbilt has a lot to celebrate. But gents, welcome in. Today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use our code Locked On College, get $20 off your first purchase. I want to start here, guys, because the biggest topic of the last couple of days, before we even get into what happened on Saturday, Stephen, is with you. It's with Lane Kiffin. We get the meeting of the minds on Friday. Some people thought maybe coming out of that, we'd hear some kind of contract extension and announcement, all this kind of stuff. Instead, we'll make a decision or release a decision on Lane Kiffin after the Egg Bowl. So where are we right now with Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin?
Well, I'll tell you what I think I know. Not necessarily what the facts are, because the facts are, well, there's 3 schools out there. There was a press release. They're going to announce after the Egg Bowl expectedly. But this is what I think. And I think people tune into our shows to find out what we think about situations. And I think that Lane is gone. I think he's going to end up at LSU. I think that the offense, when Ole Miss this year, when Austin Simmons got injured, it kind of got tweaked a little bit for Trinidad Chambliss because they do different stuff, and Lane is involved in that. I think that this football game, because of the opponents, is the biggest regular season game in Ole Miss history. Because if you win that game, you go to the playoff and you host a playoff game. So the question on Friday, logically, if you just want to think of it that way, is the most important thing is winning that football game and what gives you the best opportunity to do it. I don't know exactly what was said or what's going on. That is where I am right now.
What's interesting, our guy, Matt Moscona of Locked On LSU, was kind of listening to what he had to say. I think last night, doing his live show, somebody asked him, what percentage would you say Lane Kiffin is going to LSU? I think he said like 90-something% right now. Now, he said that's right now. Again, this changes all the time. And I had to be reminded, in 2016, remember going into that last game between LSU and A&M, ESPN on the ticker said Tom Herman has a verbal agreement with LSU. He's going to LSU. Texas ends up losing that last game. I want to say it was like to Kansas or something. And Charlie Strong, they decided, okay, we're going to make a change to here, and we're going to go poach Tom Herman away from LSU. And so within a 24-hour period, it was like LSU went from getting Tom Herman to suddenly they settled for Ed Ogeron. Now, it worked out. Texas didn't win jack with Tom Herman. LSU won a national championship with Ed Ogeron, so it worked out there. But in 21, it was the same thing. Everything had leaked out for about 3-4 days. Lincoln Riley is going to LSU. He's leaving Oklahoma, and you remember this, Jay. He's going to LSU. And what happened? Within a 48, 72-hour period, he's suddenly going to USC. He's scared of the SEC, and LSU goes and gets Brian Kelly. So while this is like set up right now for Lane Kiffin to go to LSU, this all could change very quickly.
Yeah, the statement of I am not going to be the head coach of LSU will live in infamy with Oklahoma Sooner fans and most of college football, because everybody knows that line. As soon as you hear it, you're just like, yeah, that whole situation was a massive cluster. And kind of like in this whole situation, it feels like there's been backdoor negotiations for a bit. This has been planned that this is going to potentially go down. But it's just wild to me to see that he's doing this again. Like, Lane, what are we doing? And I'm saying this as someone that watched the whole Tennessee fiasco. We saw how bad things got at USC over time. You're in a great situation, period. All you've got to do is make sure you lock down, get the right players in there. And that's the one thing I can give to Ole Miss. The Grow Collective has been on the forefront of innovation when it comes to collectives. They have been at the front of saying, now we'll spend. Sure. Dude had like the top portal classes for a couple years, and then you started seeing them spending and recruiting as well. They started recognizing, okay, we need to get some more recruits to go along with these portal guys so we can build that cohesion, that chemistry, that buy-in. You have it. But now you're going to go leave and go to LSU. I get the mindset of, well, LSU has won 3 national championships in the last 25 years, and we only think one of the coaches that won is actually any good. I get that. I get that mindset that I could probably walk in there and win a national championship at LSU. I get that. But at the same time, dog, you got it good. What are we doing here? Why are you burning so many bridges? I am just honestly floored and surprised the dude ain't been blacklisted yet.
Yeah, it's one of those weird things. Like 3 weeks ago, before the Oklahoma game, he had nearly 100% approval rating amongst the fan base. He could have done whatever he wanted to, whatever's going on. Right now, I genuinely think he would struggle to get a cup of coffee at Ajax on the square. And that is not because he's leaving. You hired Lane Kiffin. You went into this with your eyes open. You were prepared that he wasn't going to retire at Ole Miss. I mean, that's the way it was, no matter what was happening. And if Ole Miss makes a playoff, this was all worth it. No matter what happens, this was all worth it. But it's the way that all of this has gone down over the last 3 weeks. That's the problem. It's not the problem that it's happening. It is how it's happening.
Exactly. That's been my take with all of it. It's, why are you doing it this way, dog? Just, your team's in the playoffs. Like, you really, all you got to do is win the Egg Bowl. Granted, it is a rivalry game and weird things happen in those circumstances. I totally understand that. But all you got to do is win that game.
Well, let me throw in there.
Good.
Let me throw in there, Jay, because I've had a few people say this to me too. They're like, I keep hearing people saying, why is Lane doing this? Lane's not doing anything, is what this guy said. He said Lane wants to finish, like, in other words, if in a perfect world, what Lane wants to do is finish this season with Ole Miss. He wants to coach the Egg Bowl. He wants to coach them in the playoff and then make a decision on what his future would be. Ole Miss is the ones, and right, wrong, or indifferent, saying, we can't allow that to happen. We cannot have you go out there and coach a playoff team with the Ole Miss logo on your chest and then knowing you're probably going to leave when this run is over. And that's the tough part of this schedule that we're in now, with signing day being the first week of December, portal being the first week of January, is coaches cannot wait. It's just not, it's not feasible. And then on top of it, knowing he's going to a rival. This isn't like Lane is going to Washington and it's fine. He's going to go over to the West Coast when this is over. Right. He's going to play you next year at a different school, hypothetically. So the other part of it too is, guys, the championship odds just came out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ole Miss has the 8th best odds to win a championship. Mm-hmm. I think that's part of this too, is he looks at it. Everybody's looking at it going, you're perfect. You're in a perfect setup. You're making the playoff. All this. Okay, just because you make the playoff doesn't mean you're any closer to winning a national championship. Now, I do think this is a talented Ole Miss team. They could absolutely go on a run, but if they're one and done, they lose the first round of the playoff game. How much closer are you to winning a championship at Ole Miss? I think that's where he looks at the recruiting side at LSU, where that state recruits itself on top of the NIL commitment. Maybe that's what weighs the, because I agree with you. Like, on paper, Ole Miss, LSU, and Florida are all pretty equal in what the offers are, the talent, and all this. But is LSU just a little bit, does that tip the scales just a little bit more?
This is where Ole Miss fans stand on this. Right now, Florida and LSU, either one that gets chosen is not closer to win a national championship than Ole Miss is right now. It might be in the future with what you're doing. It is not right now. And in the biggest game on Friday, the biggest game potentially in your regular season school history, you could have LSU's potential coach coaching against your other arch rival to get Ole Miss into the playoff. Think about that storyline. And everybody at ABC is going to talk about it. And if it made it to a playoff, it's like I told Jay, it would be a 4-hour recruiting commercial for wherever he ended up.
Yeah.
That is why that Ole Miss is taking the stance that's doing. Ole Miss should be the only school that benefits from Ole Miss making the playoff. Period.
Yeah. And that's exactly what it is. It's going to be a big recruiting pitch for him for wherever he decides to do, even if that includes him staying at Ole Miss. And I understand the sentiment of Lane's not saying anything. Everybody else, it's all being done in the background. You know, Ole Miss wants him to give some. Yes, Ole Miss should want him to give some sort of a commitment. It's their school. They're about to go to the playoffs. It's just going to be so much chaos in the hiring. Heck, you got the rumors around Kalen DeBoer, which is really not rumors. It's that Penn State's interested. Doesn't mean that he is, but you know, it always sounds great to throw that out there in an article, but it could be, it's going to be chaos regardless. And so I'm just going to sit there with my popcorn and look at it, but I just don't get Lane's mumness on everything when he has dealt with this so many times. This is not the first rodeo we've had with him. He had the whole thing with the Raiders. Now it's an Al Davis thing. I'll say that, but his name is in. It's not coincidental that he is in the middle of all of this once again.
Yeah. What if I pose this to you guys that Lane still hasn't made a decision yet? Was that viable?
It's possible. Okay. I am going to say it's legitimately possible. Is it likely? Is it probable? No, I don't think so.
No, I would not disagree that's a very much a possibility there. But your problem is now you're a massive distraction to a team that you're coaching that could potentially play.
And some people said what Ole Miss should do is, given this information and the meeting that they had and all this, should they part ways with him now? Should they just say, look, we're going to put you on leave with pay, just go sit at home, do your thing. We're going to move Joe Judge up, because Joe Judge, here's the other thing. If Joe Judge takes over as interim and they beat the hell out of Mississippi State in the Egg Bowl, sends a clear message to the playoff committee, hey, this Ole Miss team, they don't need Lane Kiffin. We're strong as hell, and we deserve to be in the playoff without him.
I think they want to ensure the Trinidad Lane thing that's been going on for the last several weeks, that kind of continues. I agree with that. If they did that, you're going to have a fight, because if Jimmy Sexton's a lot of things, one of the things he's not is stupid. So you have to think that there would be plans outside of that. And if he was at home on his couch, suspended with pay, this is a person that has lashed out and decided to send his family on Tinder tours of open SEC jobs at the beginning of the week. You don't think he's going to lash out at that point? He absolutely is going to lash out, and you have no idea what that lash out is going to be.
Yeah, the interesting part, too, is the details that Ross Dellinger leaked out on Friday night. It was details of the LSU contract. So clearly this thing is far enough along that they've had discussions that he's told LSU possibly upcoming. You know what I mean? Like, to get to the point that the details of the contract have been approved and put together. The other part of it, too, and this is from Moscona, he says that the report of Florida meeting with his reps is like a little bit behind. That basically they talked about this with Lane like a week or two ago, and basically got told, no, he's not coming to Florida. So they're meeting with Jimmy Sexton, because Sexton represents all these other coaches too. It could be Brent Key. It could be all these other coaches in Florida. So at least Matt Moscona's opinion, Locked on SEC or Locked on LSU, he believes Florida at this point is out. Like, Kiffin's not coming to Florida. It's either he is going to LSU or he stays at Ole Miss. But Steven, at this point, how does he rectify? I've seen some Ole Miss fans saying, I'm out on him. I don't want him back. How does he reconcile that?
Yeah, he's burned a ton of bridges, and there'd be a lot to repair if he came back to Ole Miss, honestly. And listen, this is the thing that I think is going on right now. I can't prove it because I haven't been in the room with anybody, but I think he's telling everybody, yes, he's coming, even the Florida people. And that's the reason they are 100% confident that Lane Kiffin is going to be the coach at Florida. LSU, the same thing, 100% confident that he's going to be the coach at LSU. And Ole Miss, even now, even with the way it sits, they're like, we're like 60% confident. There's still a chance that it happens. But that's what I think is going on, and why this week is going to be absolutely bizarre for everybody involved. It's going to be the keeping up with the Kifdashians, essentially. just a reality show for about a week. That's what's going to happen.
So you guys put your name on it right now. It is Sunday. What is it? November 23rd. Make a prediction a week from now. Where is Lane Kiffin coaching?
Oh, LSU. I'm LSU. Absolutely. I'm there. I think there is a 0% chance at this particular moment that he is back at Ole Miss.
Yeah, I'm at 1% for him making it back to Ole Miss. I say never, but yeah, I'm with Steven on that. But I'm gonna throw a curveball, man. He gonna end up at Alabama. I just don't know why. It just sounds like this feels like something done like would happen like that. We talked about it at the beginning, man. I'm not going to be the head coach of LSU, and then all of a sudden, boom, a new school opens up in Powder Elands. So we'll see. As long as Alabama wins this, wins the Iron Bowl, they should be fine. But yeah, I don't know. It's too much.
Yeah,
but it's bizarre. Is that unfair to put that on Kalen DeBoer? I mean, like, look, he had a nice. It was, it's not like they're holding him to the Saban standard. He's not Saban, but like if he loses the Iron Bowl, they were this narrowly close to making the playoff. Like in just 2-year sample size, is that enough to say you're not the guy? We're firing you? Like,
yeah, it's Bama. That's the mindset, man.
But no one is Saban. Who's Saban? Like who can do what he did?
Bear Bryant is Saban. That's who. That's two.
And right,
not one, but two.
After Bear Bryant, you got Ray Perkins.
Yeah, it's just it's an unfair standard to hold. Look, the hope was they don't fall off a cliff. They've not fallen off a cliff, Alabama. They're right there. They're knocking on the door. But newsflash, the SEC's tough. Like I have to keep telling people this. You added Texas and Oklahoma. We didn't add Wake Forest and I don't know Purdue.
Virginia.
Like that would have made the road easier. You added 2 behemoths. Yeah, the road is tough. I just saw this stat, guys, and we'll get into recapping last week. South Carolina just played Coastal Carolina. It was their first team they've played outside of the top 15 for the first time since September. I mean, you want to crap on Shane Beamer? Look at the road he just went through. Nobody could survive that. So,
but according to Dan Lanning, at least Oregon decided to compete yesterday.
Right. Against USC.
I mean, and Ohio State is playing slappies. I'm like, when do they play a tough game again? Like, it's just like, tell me again about the Big Ten dominance. I can't. It's ridiculous. Mm-hmm. All right, fellas, when we return, we'll get into recapping actually some of the football we saw yesterday across the SEC. That's coming your way next. Hey, but first, I want to remind you guys, the holidays are upon us, and obviously means it's time to get your home ready. And whether you need more seating for guests, cozy new linens, fun serveware for holiday hosting. My wife's already telling me we're going to have people over in a couple weeks. Wayfair's Black Friday sale is here to help you make your space shine. And the best part, you don't have to wait. Wayfair's Black Friday deals are happening all month long with up to 70% off everything from sofas to spatulas. If you've ever hosted family for the holidays, you know how much difference a few new touches can make. Wayfair makes that easy. Don't miss out on the early Black Friday deals. Head to wayfair.com to shop Wayfair's Black Friday sale for up to 70% off. That is WAYFAIR.com. Sale ends December 7th. Wayfair.com. All right, continue on here with our SEC Week 13 reaction show, and let's talk a little bit about the football we saw yesterday. And then we'll get into SEC standings, who's going to Atlanta, who's going to make the playoff and all that. But, Jay, let's start with your Oklahoma Sooners. 4th win of the season versus a current top 25 team. Oklahoma has put together quite a resume. And while the offense still doesn't look great with John Mateer, the defense is playing better than anybody in the country.
Yeah, 4 wins over current ranked teams. Missouri won't be ranked anymore at the end of this, unfortunately. So to drop down to 3, but when ranked, 5 wins at the time of play. They have wins over top 25 teams, which is the most in the country. Nobody else has done that. And you're right. We're doing it in the most unconventional 2009 Alabama way of doing it. All defense, a little bit of offense. And the funny thing is that you see glimpses of offense there, but you can tell that offense is not healthy. You can tell that Mateer has some ailments. I'm still saying when Brent Venables mentioned on his coach's show that Mateer was dealing with a knee thing, I think he's dealing with like a sprain, and he just can't cut. When you see him go north and south, he looks great, but he can't plant like he wants to throw. And I don't think it's where he can't play in the games. It's more of a nuisance and probably grimaces on some throws. So yeah, the offense ain't there, but man, the defense, that's what matters. That's what we should talk about. And that's the thing I'm trying to emphasize with Sooner fans and everybody else that watches. Dude, Ahmad Hardy and Roberts are probably the best tandem running back team in the country, period. He had 300 yards 2 weeks ago. The man, he leads the country in rushing. We held him to 57 yards. We did not let him do anything to us. And Drink, no matter what he tried, I still don't think it made sense to play Bo, but at the same time, I think the score would have been worse if Bo didn't play. And so I kind of get why he went ahead and did it. But you could tell we felt them out the first drive. And I had so many people say, oh man, that defense isn't that great, is it? And then all of a sudden, I don't know if a lot of people knew this, but they had 0 rushing net yards in the second half of that game. 0 net rushing. A team that is one of the best running teams in the country. We shut them down. I got to give it to him, man. Brent Venables provided something that I didn't even think was expected. I never thought we would be like Crimson and Cream Hawkeyes. Never thought that we would be the Iowa Sooners. It kind of surprises me. But we do have glimpses of offense, which I am happy about.
You know, one thing that's interesting after seeing Oklahoma the last few weeks is Kejuan Lacey only ran for like 75 yards in that game. But how impressive does that look now with what he did? I mean, that win has just turned out to be just a shining beacon on the hill on Ole Miss's resume. And props to Oklahoma. I'm serious. They are rushing John Mateer back and not playing Michael Hawkins at quarterback from potentially being 11-1 and 5th in the country right now.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly my thought process too. There was your reasons. You know, you had some offensive line shuffles. You made changes at the Texas game, going into South Carolina, Ole Miss. You brought in your true freshman right tackle. You thought he was ready at that point when you dealt with an injury, and that was the one game to me. It was the Kejuan Lacey had a really good game. I mean, he had to run it 27 times in order to get there. But Kejuan Lacey is one of the best running backs in the SEC as well, and you were able to stop him from getting 100, which he's really good at getting that too. For Oklahoma, we are a woulda, shoulda, coulda away from potentially being like 11-1 if you didn't deal with a lot of banged up guys. And in this game, your running back's got a knee brace. He said it at the beginning of the week. Brent Venables mentioned Xavier Robinson said his knee's sprained. He's like, just throw some tussin on it, put a brace, let's go, let's ride. And he's trying, but man, the thing for Oklahoma is you win this game against LSU, you're in, which is a good thing. But then you get a couple weeks of rest. And that's going to be probably, to me, the most critical thing for this team is heading into this winter when things get really cold and people don't like really being out there on the field in like deep football weather. Having a stout defense is going to be a lot more beneficial than people realize.
Yeah, it's interesting too. Looking at, watching LSU last night, it was I had it on the extra TV, and what a debacle. I mean, they've gone to Michael Van Buren. He's not great. That offensive line is still miserable. Looking at all the teams that are playing this week, rivalry week and all this, I don't see any path that LSU beats Oklahoma unless LSU gets a defensive touchdown, a special teams touchdown, Mateer fumbles and LSU scoop and score. Like it's going to have to take something like that. And just knowing what's on the line, Jay, Sooner fans are going to show up, shut that stadium as loud as it was yesterday. I think it's going to be even louder on Saturday, knowing what's on the line.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be rocking, especially because this is the game that gets you there, gets you to a place that so many people said that Oklahoma was not going to be able to get to. So many people mentioned that Brent Venables just wasn't the guy to get Oklahoma to this level where they needed to be. And fans are excited at the fact that we flip-flop from offensive dominant team to a defensive dominant team. And it's weird. It's really, especially weird for most Sooner fans. We're so used to having just offenses for like the last 20 years. And then you come in and you're beating team 17-6. Like, that's just odd. It's like an odd feeling to look at and be like, that was a dominant win, but it was 17-6. You would think it would be 48-6, but that's not how it plays in the SEC. Usually when you have high scores, it's because it's a shootout. Neither team can stop anybody unless you're playing Kentucky, which I'm jealous that so many teams get to play against Kentucky. Well, we don't get that opportunity, but you're seeing these games where people have to fight to win, and I have an appreciation for that now. I actually appreciate it a lot more than I thought I would. But you're right, Gordy. LSU coming into town, I expect the fans to be ridiculous this weekend. I expect more fans to be in town than expected, especially because it's the holiday. And with that, just go win. Keep the defense stout. Win. You get a break, and then you can focus on trying to figure out who you're going to play against. I'm ready to see what the committee does to us, if you want me to be honest.
Well, let me throw in another game too, and we'll kind of wrap all this up into the playoff spots. Vanderbilt beats up Kentucky 45-17. Keep in mind, this was a Kentucky team that was playing much better as of late. I mean, they were their defense was playing very well. The offense was playing much better. So, and I get Cutter Boley got hurt early in this one, and Zach Calzada had to come in. But to me, the story was, I mean, we saw what Kentucky's defense did to, I mean, completely shut down Auburn, completely shut down Texas and Arch Manning a couple weeks ago, and then took it to Tennessee Tech last week. It was undefeated, 10-0. I get it, it's Tennessee Tech. But for Diego Pavia to have 532 total yards, 6 total touchdowns, 33 for 39, I mean, it was surgical what he did to them. And, look, they're not going to get a ton of credit for beating a 5-5 Kentucky team. But the more I look at Vanderbilt, man, like, they deserve a shot. I mean, their 2 losses were to Texas and Alabama. I know it's going to get into a debate on resume wins and all this, but I just wish there was a world that Vanderbilt could get in at 10-2 if they take care of Tennessee.
One thing that's interesting, I'm glad I finally get the Stranger Things upside down world look where Tennessee gets a chance to play spoiler against Vanderbilt for the college football playoff. I needed that air, honestly. But if Diego Pavia beats Tennessee, he should win the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah, I agree.
If you won 10 games at Vanderbilt, you should absolutely win the Heisman Trophy. I'm
in 100% agreement on that one. If he pulls that off, that's your Heisman moment, Diego Pavia. You pull that off because last 3 weeks you've been balling, but if you pull that off and that propels you, there's no one more valuable to their team than that dude.
And let me just add this: Vanderbilt. Somebody tweeted out, Diego Pavia saw the opportunity to make a Heisman statement against Tennessee, and he took it. I mean, there was, people were like, "Oh, why are they still throwing it?" Because he's trying to pad the stats to make a case. But this was Vandy's first 9-win season at this point in the year.
Ever.
As members of the SEC. This goes back to 1933. Now, they did win 9 games 4 times before, but that included the last week of the season and a bowl game. Vandy has never won 10 games in a season. So that's what's on the line here. If they beat Tennessee this week, they will have the greatest season in Vanderbilt history. To me, I get it's only a 12-team playoff. If it was a 20-something game playoff, they'd be in. But I think Vanderbilt deserves as much consideration as possible.
And listen, there's some serious rumors and smoke around that Jared Curtis might flip to Vandy. Vandy has never signed a top 100 recruit, much less somebody that high. I'm telling you, things are going up a little bit different on West End right now.
Oh yeah, that's going to be a fun. Yeah, that's. Oh my goodness. If they're able to flip him, the number one, man, and to be truth be told, that's honestly not really that big of a loss for Georgia. If I'm being honest, how many 5-star quarterbacks have they been really successful with? Like if you really go back and look at it, I mean, Matt Stafford's probably the last one that's really was something. A lot of the other ones ended up transferring out.
Justin Fields left.
Fields left. Jake Fromm was a 4-star. Eason was a 5-star. Left, went to Washington.
They had Raiola. He flipped.
They had Raiola. Vandergriff. Brock Vandergriff was a 5-star. Ended up at Kentucky and then just was not very good. Like you go down the list of their recruits. Dylan Raiola was committed and then flipped. They always end up better without the 5-star. That's what you're learning about the way Georgia plays.
And Stetson Bennett's is statue worthy at Georgia.
Exactly.
And he's a star. Yeah. Okay.
And Gunnar Stockton's playing. Like I get, he was a little bit more highly touted, but like Gunnar Stockton's playing his ass off right now, and
playing really well.
And playing really well. One more I'll squeeze in here real quick, guys. Texas takes it to Arkansas 52-37. Look, this thing was close at half. I mean, we talked about it for weeks. Arkansas has been playing all these one-score games against teams, and this was a one-score game at halftime, and the offense is humming for Texas and all this, or for Arkansas, and then Texas's defense made some adjustments, and they get it done, and 52-37, and Arch Manning, I said this before, I mean, it seems like Arch has kind of got his his confidence up. Like, he's playing his best football here on the backstretch of the season, and the big game against A&M. I cannot wait for this game on Friday night. I mean, the Lone Star Showdown, basically, if A&M loses, they're still not guaranteed a spot in Atlanta. They'll make the playoff. But for Texas, they're kind of that outside chance, 9-3 with a loss on the road to number 1 Ohio State. They're still in the discussion, but look, it's a rivalry game. Doesn't matter what Texas's postseason hopes are. They want to beat A&M, and Arch is playing great football right now.
Yeah. They seem to have the controller lean forward as soon as they got into the second half of that game. They just grabbed the controller. No, we gotta focus. And that third quarter was explosive. I just don't see how that loss to Florida doesn't make it detrimental to them, regardless of what happens in the A&M game. It just feels like that game right there. That's a bad loss. That is a really bad loss. So I don't see it, but yeah, Arch has shown up. He's shown up against these teams every year. This is when you see Arch Manning play his best. So
5 touchdowns, by the way, 4 passing touchdowns, 389 through the air, and then a rushing touchdown as well. So
didn't he catch one too? He caught a touchdown too.
So 6,
first one ever.
So 6 total touchdowns.
Yeah, he caught one, rushed one, and threw 4.
You know how this is going to end up, right? Ole Miss is going to make it to the title game on the backs of Arch Manning at quarterback and Derek Nix, the longtime Ole Miss assistant that spent 20 years that's calling plays for the Auburn Tigers now. Ole Miss is going to end up there all without Lane Kiffin. It's going to be absolutely nuts, and that just makes just enough chaos sense for it to happen.
The interesting part too here is for Arkansas, look, they lose another one. They're 2-9. I think the Bobby Petrino talk was fun, but wherever Arkansas goes next, I've heard there was rumblings the last 48 hours about Matt Campbell at Iowa State. I think that'd be a hell of a grab if Arkansas could pull that off.
It'd be a fit.
A week ago, it was Ryan Silverfield, so we don't know. This thing changes by the minute. But KJ Jackson, the freshman quarterback, gets in, and I thought he showed some glimpses. His running ability, his throwing ability, he's got a big arm. So, you never know what's going to happen with portal and all that, but that would be interesting if KJ Jackson ends up being the guy. You hate to see it for Taylor Green. I think in hindsight, if Taylor Green could do this over again, I think he would have hit the portal last offseason. And could you imagine Taylor Green on, any of these other teams? I hate to say it, Jay, Mateer's been fine, but if you guys had Taylor Green this season, I think Oklahoma would have been undefeated right now.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with you on that one. It hasn't been the perfect marriage with Mateer so far. He was great against Michigan, looked really good against Auburn, and then the injury, of course, ever since then it's looked bad. So, but yeah, no, having a healthy Taylor Green go out, run around, and that would have been just vicious. But he also made some pretty interesting decisions sometimes. So we'll see. We'll see what Texas does against A&M. I'm very intrigued by rivalry week.
And I just want to say, believe it or not, even though that Texas won the game by multiple scores, I'm actually happy that that happened for John Neighbors, because nobody deserves what the host of Locked On Razorbacks had to go through this season. Nobody deserved that. So, yeah, at least it was kind of over pretty quick, and you could just kind of set your show midway through the third quarter.
Yeah. All right. When we return, we'll get to we'll mention real quick some of the cupcake games yesterday, and then we'll get into who's going to Atlanta and who's going to the playoff. That's coming your way next. I want to remind you guys, with just a week left in the regular season, you can still get tickets to all those big rivalry games using the Gametime app. It's the app that gives the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices, no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. I'm telling you, Gametime app makes it super simple. You can even see the exact view from the seat before you buy. I've used it multiple times this year for college games, an NFL game a couple weeks ago, an NBA game this season. Paid a little bit more. I went sweet life. on the NBA game. But look, Game Time gives you that option. And so check them out right now. And their zone deals, you pick the section. Game Time will pick the seats for you, and you're going to save big. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets for college football games and every other event with Game Time. You download the Game Time app. If you've never used them before, create an account, use our code LOCKEDONCollege. It'll get you $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that is promo code LOCKEDONCollege. Get $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. All right, fellas, as we get into recapping yesterday, just running around, looking at some of the cupcake games out there. Samford, they had no chance against A&M. A&M rolls 48-0. A&M now 11-0, undefeated, one of their best seasons ever. Whatever happens here from here on out with Elko and A&M just goes down historically one of their best seasons ever. So good for them.
Yeah, and props to them for facing their FCS opponent that is in the midst of a coaching change as well. So even that game, they get to either face a backup quarterback or a coach that has been changed. So props to Texas A&M for that. Now, the game to end all games is ending up on their schedule Friday night, and you have to go to Austin, and they're playing well. That's must-watch television. Is much-watch television.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna be tuned right into that game Friday night. That is gonna. I love the fact that it's on Friday too. That makes it even better.
The triple header on Friday.
Yeah,
yes. It's clean old-fashioned hate, and then Lone Star Showdown.
Yeah, I thought that I was gonna actually do something else on Friday, and realized no, I'm gonna be glued to my couch. Because Saturday I will be at the LSU Oklahoma game, so I won't be able to enjoy all the rest of those. But yeah, I'm going to really just be on my couch all day Friday. I don't plan on moving whatsoever. I know that I'm going to be petitioned to go places when my daughter gets here from college. I'm like, no, I can't do it. Football is on. So yeah, no, this is going to be a great Friday. It's going to be a great weekend in general and it's funny because when I look at this, the college football playoffs have so many people upset about feeling like a lot of games don't matter. I guess the conference championship games kind of are in the air of not mattering as much per se. But man, there's so many implications this weekend. Well, certain teams have to win.
We'll get to that in just a second because we're going to get.
I'm more so just saying that it's crazy how many games we have that just in college football in general that have implications on what could happen going forward. I'm just excited at the fact that we got games that matter.
Yeah. Real quick. So Georgia beats Charlotte. So Georgia's 10-1, 6-1 in the SEC. Again, a little bit I watched. The run game looked really good for Georgia. Them kind of handling up. Alabama completely stymies Eastern Illinois 56-0. I saw, Ty Simpson actually threw a couple of picks in this one, but the outcome really didn't matter. They didn't play Jeremy Bernard. So anyway, so they win that one easily. Mercer and Auburn. I mean, this one was crazy because Deuce Knight gets his chance. True freshman 5-star takes it 75 yards for a touchdown run. Mercer answers. It's 7-7, and then Auburn turns it on 62-17. But Deuce Knight was the story of the game. Auburn fans are all super jacked to see whoever the hell we hire as a coach. We got to keep this guy because he's the future. And man, what a dud on the Jackson Arnold signing. When in hindsight, look, if you had switched to Deuce Knight earlier in the year, I get it was Mercer, but do you think they might have won a game or two in the SEC had Deuce Knight been playing all year?
I don't believe it. And I honestly believe that he just was not ready at the beginning of the season because after seeing how Jackson Arnold was playing and how we saw the practice footage and stuff, there's no reason for you to believe that Deuce Knight, at the way that he played in this game, that this is what he looked like that early in the season. I'm sorry. It's just being truthful. Jackson was just hesitant. Now, I mean, Jackson went out there and ran for a touchdown and was out there balling as well. So I'm not sure if this is a really good parameter of how you should feel. I mean, he was 3 for 5, 31 yards, and then he ran that 56-yard touchdown run. But he finished the game with 53 yards, rushing on 3 carries. That makes me ask questions again. How did he lose 3 yards and only have net 53 when he had a 56-yard touchdown? So, that being said, I don't think Deuce Knight was ready. It just doesn't feel like he was.
Yeah.
But I think he is now. It's his team.
Well, and that's where we'll see. I mean, they benched Ashton Daniels to protect his red shirt, and Ashton Daniels has been playing very well. I think they're going to go back to Ashton Daniels for the Iron Bowl, but I think maybe some wrinkles for Deuce Knight. We'll see. South Carolina beats up Coastal.
Real
Go ahead,
quick.
Steven.
DJ Durkin is one win away from Alabama from being the full-time head coach.
I don't believe that. I think that
if he gets that win and gets them to a bowl game, he will get that job, especially with the way they've looked.
I think it's a tough sell. I think Auburn fans want to keep Durkin as the DC, but I think that, I mean, last I heard a few days ago, they were all in on Tulane coach John Summerall. So
yeah, they're trying really hard to get this closed before the Ole Miss job comes open.
Well, yes. and then Florida, he's like on their top 5. He's in LSU's top 5. So John Summerall is going to be somewhere in the SEC next year, it feels like. But
yeah, and I feel like that's the only places he's going to be. I think it's going to be between LSU, Florida, Auburn, and Ole Miss. I think it will be an SEC job. I mean, he's in Louisiana at Tulane, so he's not going to leave this area if he can avoid it. And so, yeah, that to me is I feel the exact same way. He ain't going nowhere.
South Carolina beat up Coastal 51-7. The only thing of note here is LaNorris Sellers started to look a lot better. Why does that matter? Scouts have their eyes on him, and he's still being talked about as a potential top 10 pick. And this is going to be a big decision for the Sellers family is, can he get how much can he get in NIL money next year? Either one, to stay at South Carolina, come back for another year, or 2, go elsewhere and get paid top money. Ohio State's could be fine with Julian Sand, but like a program like that, I don't know, Notre Dame or somebody, if they pay him top dollar, Sellers has that versus, are you a potential lock as a top 10 NFL pick? Because if you are, you got to go. So kind of interesting on that front.
Yeah, I'm intrigued to see what Sellers decides to do. He has the physical traits, kind of like Anthony Richardson, to where coaches will say, we'll rather have you and we can fix all of your problems, which we've all learned that that's very hard to do. It's not impossible. It's just very hard to do. He's probably going to have to just go to the league. If he's got a chance of being a top 15 pick, you leave, period. Now, if it's less than 15, come back. You're going to make more money in college. Just like you said, Gordy, you can go to some other program or stay at South Carolina, and they'll up the ante on the pay for you and Dylan Stewart to be there one more year and see if they can make a big run. And if that run doesn't work, when you go to the pro, Shane Beamer gets fired and they start from scratch again. So it's okay. You got good options, but truth be told, it may be in his best interest to go ahead and just hit the league.
So real quick, 2 other games. There's so much happening. LSU barely survives Western Kentucky. It was 13-3 with like a minute to go. LSU was still running the football for some reason. The ball pops out. Western Kentucky takes it back to the house. It's 13-10, and they're an onside kick away from this thing possibly going haywire. So at least LSU gets it done. But I think all the focus of that game last night was, are we getting Lane Kiffin or not? Nobody cared about Western Kentucky.
Yeah, they were dropped pass on a trick play on the goal line by the quarterback away from potentially the way it played out, losing that game. It got weird there for a minute, but they were able to pull it out at the end. And, hey, a win's better than a loss, especially whenever you're just kind of playing out the string.
And I don't know why
I always say.
I don't know why we skipped over this. Tennessee does break the 20-year curse. They finally get a win in the Swamp, 31-11. Tennessee still top 25. They're 8-3. Give the Florida fans credit. I have a buddy who was at the game who said, dude, Florida fans, for as bad as crap is right now, they showed up. They were loud. They came out to support their team. Unfortunately, the team didn't give them anything to root for, but I give the Florida fans credit. They showed up for that game, and they were loud, but they were hitting the exits by the second half. But good on Tennessee for taking care of business. So now, guys, let's jump into taking a look. So here we are, heading into SEC week, whatever this is, 14. SEC teams, well, actually, first, sorry, I pulled up the wrong graphic. Take a look at the standings. A&M 7-0, Georgia 7-1, Ole Miss 6-1, Alabama 6-1. The interesting part here is who's going to Atlanta. A&M still has not clinched a spot. Why is that? Because if they lose to Texas and they're 7-1, they don't hold the tiebreakers over some of these other potential 7-1 SEC teams.
Nope.
Because of either head-to-head or not head-to-head, because they would get in if it's head-to-head, but conference win percentage and strength of conference opponents and all that stuff. So basically it's easy, guys. A&M wins and they're in, and I think it's is it Alabama? If they win the Iron Bowl, they're in.
Yeah,
so,
they're automatically in.
So
they have the strongest winning percentage opponents in conference.
And Georgia losing the head-to-head to Alabama is what would keep them out. Now, if Alabama loses the Iron Bowl, I believe Georgia's in no matter what.
Yeah.
So that's the tough part here. And then there's still a path for Ole Miss if A&M loses and Georgia and Alabama loses. I think that's the path for Georgia and Ole Miss to both get in. So I don't know. This thing is still very much up in the air. And, again, if you're one of these 4 teams, you got to be questioning, do we even want to go to Atlanta?
Yeah, that's absolutely the truth. I mean, Ole Miss fans would rather go to the playoff and not have to worry about Atlanta. But I'm telling you, if you just look at the wackiness that is college football and the storylines that are attached, losing a game in Austin, Texas, and losing a game in Auburn, Alabama, that is not outside the realm of possibility at all with what's going on. And all you have to do is beat Mississippi State, and all of a sudden Ole Miss is in Atlanta. Again, we always talk about it. I want those jokes to go away about Ole Miss not knowing how to get to Atlanta. I want that to go away. But in the end, Ole Miss fans would rather just a home playoff game, a couple of weeks of rest, and a chance that you don't get players injured.
How awkward does that make things too? If Ole Miss goes to Atlanta and Lane, what does Lane do?
Yeah, seriously, it would be at the point where he has to be running out of time unless he's just going to go. And because you're getting into December at that point, and then the playoff is 2 weeks away, and it just gets bizarre. It just gets weird. But that might be the reason that they kick the can down the road a little bit at that ultimatum meeting on Friday, is because if Ole Miss wins and Ole Miss ends up in the SEC championship game, that kind of changes the calculus.
It does. It changes a lot of things, and that's an additional game for Lane Kiffin to have to coach and potentially coach or not coach, and makes things weird. But yeah, I love that there are so many implications for not only the conference championship, but even the playoffs. It's going to be a fun weekend this coming weekend. Things matter the last weekend of the season, which in a lot of situations they didn't.
I think only one of those upsets happens, by the way. Texas beats A&M or Bama, or Auburn beats Bama. I don't think they both happen. What do you guys think?
I don't either. It is a little bit of a long shot, but I'm going to make my predictions with my heart.
Yeah, it's again, every week we've seen upsets, it feels like. So there maybe is a chance. But by the way, some breaking news out of the ACC. Florida State is officially retaining Mike Norvell moving forward. So Norvell will not be fired. That massive buyout is just too big. And so as somebody tweeted, great news for the rest of the ACC that Mike Norvell will be back at Florida State next year. So
bad news for wherever Lane Kiffin ends up.
Yeah, how that's so crazy. The fall from grace. He won the ACC, went undefeated, lost his quarterback, and of course missed out on the playoffs because of it. But then he can't win games since. It is wild. Did he make a deal with the devil and didn't pay his portions? What happened? How could that happen? Crazy fall from grace.
Well, let's take a look at the last graphic, guys, that I put together here. And this is SEC teams in the playoff hunt. So, SEC championship game aside, here are the best case scenarios. And I think at this point, guys, A&M is in no matter what happens, right? Whether they play for an SEC title, whether they lose to Texas, I think A&M is in. Georgia and Ole Miss also feel like locks. But again, if Ole Miss loses in the Egg Bowl and Kiffin leaves, I think there may be some precedent to drop them. Georgia, I mean, look, Georgia Tech gave them a 7 overtime game last year. So that could be craziness this weekend. And then you got Alabama with a win and you're in at Auburn, and then Oklahoma against LSU, obviously. Vanderbilt's the one that gets sketchy. I did put Texas in here at 8-3 because if they beat a top 3 A&M, that's a big resume win. But, I just don't know if 9-3 would be enough to get in. But what do you guys think on how many teams the SEC gets in?
Yeah, I've been looking at it like crazy, and you're going to need some help from outside of the SEC. You're going to need some help from, teams actually, the Big 12, some teams losing or whatnot. I just don't see a reason to really shake things up when I'm looking at the top 12. If everybody wins, there's no reason to really even move anybody, regardless of conference championship. I think the only thing you change in conference championship wise is Ohio State, Indiana. Who wins that game gets 1, the other one gets 2. But does that really matter as much? besides the jersey color, because you're going to get a bye week, you're going to host a game, and then you're going to go to the bowl sites regardless. So it almost doesn't matter in that capacity. It may matter based upon who you line up with as far as your schedule goes, but then from if Bama beats Texas A&M for the conference championship, can you really move Bama back up? I mean, I see A&M probably dropping a spot, but that's their first loss. Like, do you really punish them for that? That's what makes it so hard with a lot of this, because truth be told, I think that as long as everybody wins this weekend, conference championship really doesn't change much this year.
Well, let me give you what Mike. Oh, go ahead, Steven.
Yeah, I think it's a situation to where if everything goes chalk, it's a problem, but it never goes chalk. I mean, if Vandy loses to Tennessee, if Texas loses to A&M, if Bama loses to Auburn, if Ole Miss loses to Mississippi State, these things have a way of taking care of themselves. So it's a cop-out answer, I know, but I think it's going to end up being 4 teams, and we'll find out after this weekend which 4 teams those are.
The Mike Rodak of, I think he's AL.com, he tweeted this out this morning. He said, can Alabama miss the playoff? Here's a few scenarios. Obviously, if they lose to Auburn, Bama's out. They're 9-3 and they're out. If they beat Auburn but lose in the SEC championship game, there's a world where the Big 12 champion, if it's BYU, could jump them, or Texas Tech is also in, and the Big 12 champion and BYU gets in as well. So there's that. There's also the chance where Bama gets the SEC championship game, loses, it's a third loss, and a 10-2 team like a Miami could jump them too. So this is where it gets really sketchy, where it's like you want to go play for an SEC championship game, but for the committees, for on their docket, how much do you punish the loser of the SEC championship game if it's a third loss?
And you're 100% right on how, and that's the one thing I hate about how this is set up. To me, the conference championship should not actually hurt you whatsoever, especially if you're one of the top ranked teams. I feel like if you make the top ranks and you're in the 2 teams in the conference championship, if you're both ranked where you should be playing in the playoffs, I don't think anything should change you making the playoffs. I think you should be automatically locked in, specifically because you made it. And you're playing an extra game where everybody else doesn't have to. So You're the only ones being judged. That, to me, is the only thing that's fair. It's the only difference would be Bama winning that helps them propel up a little bit higher. But that's it. Like, I don't see where there's a situation where anybody should fall out. I think for BYU coming in, that's where it gets tough. And I'm going to be honest, man, this is, to me, where I think Notre Dame gets pushed out. They should. If Bama loses, BYU upsets Tech, I think the Irish should be the one to get pushed out because they didn't play in the conference championship. They didn't play the extra game. They didn't play the extra week that these teams had to. If they didn't play these extra weeks, we wouldn't be having these conversations.
And also, they have the same record as somebody that beat them. So if Miami continues to win, it becomes a real problem.
Yep.
And it's where I always say, guys, I think resume wins. Who'd you beat? That we always want to jump to who'd you lose to? Well, you lost to this team. You lost to this team. Oh, that's a bad loss. What about good wins? How many good wins does Notre Dame have on their resume? Not many. The big thing, the argument with Notre Dame right now is good losses. Oh, they lost to A&M. Okay, great. Who'd you beat? That's where, but again, it's this Notre Dame bias that they get to get in. Hey, the bye rules say we go 10-2, we get in no matter what. Well, join a damn conference. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And I mean, I know that they look like a good team overall. Their 2 losses are by a combined 4 points, but go look at their actual wins. Right? Go look at their wins, who they played against, teams that are not any good.
Who is their best win?
USC?
Yeah, who they just beat like a week ago, who just took another loss, right?
So they're going to be
Oregon.
like 20th or something like that in this week's poll?
Yeah. I think the coaches poll just dropped, and USC's number 20 on the coaches poll, so I expect them to be around the same in the AP and probably around the same in the CFP.
It felt like a ruse when they pushed Pitt into the top 25, literally the week Notre Dame was going to play them.
Yeah.
And then Notre Dame beat the hell out of them. And then they go, oh, it's a top 25 win. No one thought Pitt was any good. What are we doing here?
And then Pitt just beat Georgia Tech. Now they're back in the top 25. They will be back in the top 25. So that's going to be that'll be 2 top 25 wins for Notre Dame this year.
Yeah,
Now,
well,
if Pitt goes and wins the ACC, then I can't say much because they're actually on the cusp of doing that.
I think Ole Miss is the only school, by the way, for people that are talking about resumes that'll have wins over two teams that are probably likely going to be in the playoff field this week.
well, before we wrap it up, guys, let's hear what some of our colleagues had to say about their games this weekend. Let's start with
Gordy, that was weird.
With the win against or the win for Vandy. Here's Corey Burton.
A historic night for the Vanderbilt Commodores as they dismantle the Kentucky Wildcats 45-17. Diego Pavia, historic night, over 500 yards of total offense by himself. The team, over 600 yards of total offense, and just absolute domination from start to finish. Diego Pavia throwing 5 touchdown passes and throwing for almost 500 yards himself. Accounted for 6 touchdowns, did have that 1 interception, but this team is ready for a playoff push, and I think Diego Pavia deserves a seat in New York City at the Heisman Trophy award ceremony. I'm not sure who's going to win it, but it's up in the air right now, and Diego Pavia is very much in it, as is any other candidate. So, guys, this Vanderbilt team is very, very dangerous. Up next is Tennessee, and we'll see kind of what they have this week on the road at Neyland Stadium post-Thanksgiving. It's going to be a fun ride, guys. Anchor down.
Yeah, so there you go. That's Corey Burton talking on Vandy. And by the way, Corey said he got recognized out at the Vandy game this weekend, so good on him. People starting to recognize Locked On Vandy. How about the loser of the OU game, John Miller, on Locked On Mizzou?
Turns out my lack of faith in the Missouri offense was well-founded. I'm John Miller with Locked On Mizzou, and really this is year 3 of the Kirby Moore era as Missouri's offensive coordinator, and just to be objective about it, Missouri has trended down offensively each year. Of course, 2023, Moore was a gigantic addition for Missouri, but that along with the Missouri special teams, again, trending down. I think Eli Drinkwitz needs to have some frank and difficult discussions about, well, those two positions this offseason. From Oklahoma's perspective, how can you, as a Sooner fan, you just have to be thrilled with this season. I definitely thought that Oklahoma was going to bounce back after an injury-riddled season in 2024, but to see what they've done against this schedule, now just a win away against LSU from an almost certain playoff berth, you got to be impressed with what Brent Venables and his staff have done this season.
So that's John Miller. I don't know why that cut off. And then, look, if we didn't get enough love from Jay, I mean, it was one of the more entertaining games to watch this weekend if you like good defense. It was OU beating Mizzou. We heard Jay's talk. Let's hear his co-host's thoughts. Here's John.
What's up, squad? What's up, SEC everydayers? John from Locked On Sooners. I mean, Oklahoma's 17-6 win over Missouri. I mean, it wasn't pretty, but it was a dominant defensive performance. They held the SEC's #1 rushing offense to just 70 yards. Ahmad Hardy to just over 2 yards a carry. I mean, it was a phenomenal performance, won the turnover battle, and are playing a complementary football that we haven't seen at Oklahoma in quite some time. Yes, the offense isn't putting up a lot of points, but they're doing just enough to give the defense some breathing room so that they can get after the quarterback and make life really, really difficult for opposing offenses. I mean, this is a Brent Venables team. They're playing tough. They're playing relentless. They're playing with intensity. Now, just got to find a few answers on offense, and they're going to be some trouble come postseason time.
So there you have it, guys. That is those are Locked On experts with their opinions. They couldn't join us today, but closing thoughts as we head into the final week of college football season. Feels depressing.
I know, I'm sad. It's over. It's almost over. Like, we're about to hit the holidays. Christmas is coming up. Thanksgiving's coming up. Mariah Carey's thawing out as we speak. I'm just, it's sad that we're about to hit the end of the road and go into a new year. But I'm excited that my team actually showed up this year.
Yeah, just win the game on Friday. Make the playoffs. I see the light at the end of the tunnel. Make it happen.
And whoever's coaching Ole Miss forward, who knows? We'll see.
Hey, we still have the Grove Collective, one of the best collectives in the entire country, so it doesn't really matter.
Hey, just know this, Steven. It could be worse. Your school could be putting out a statement today saying they stand by Mike Norvell coming back next year. So
that is absolutely true.
Yeah.
So,
Little
but hey,
victories.
wherever Lane Kiffin goes next year, they get to go through all of this again with Florida State job interest. And don't believe me, it's going to happen.
yeah, whatever that contract is from LSU or Florida, whoever, better have like stipulations. Lane, you can't even look at another school.
Yep.
Like you're locked in, my friend.
Stop looking at her.
That is going to do it for this edition of Locked On SEC reaction show. For Jay Smith, Locked On Sooners, Stephen Willis, Locked On Ole Miss. I'm Chris Gordy, Locked On SEC. Thank you guys for making Locked On the #1 podcast network out there. We'll talk to you guys later in the week.
Egg Bowl week.
Boomer Sooner.